guys, it's Chef from Pressure Luck, and you've spoken, and I've listened. The most requested recipe that has come my way in the most recent months, actually since I've been starting doing this, it's a dish that I'm actually surprised it took me this long to make, and it's a little bit bittersweet because this is going to be the final meal I'm going to make in this kitchen. Guys, what better way to set it off with a bang than chicken and dumplings? I know, chicken and dumplings. Now, what is chicken and dumplings to those who don't know? Because honestly, being like a northerner, like a northeastern type dude over here, I didn't really know a whole lot about it unless I went to Cracker Barrel. And honestly, I was never blown away by their chicken and dumplings. So, what exactly is it? It's basically, picture a chicken noodle soup that you're used to, like a classic one. Try mine, it's really good. And then southernize it. And you're going to have like a southern style chicken soup. Now, the dumplings in a chicken and dumplings is not the kind of dumpling that you'd think, like in terms of going to a Chinese restaurant or getting dumplings. It's not like that. It's basically just a ribbon, like a little noodle, a homemade one that you make with a little bit of a flour mixture. It's super easy, and it basically becomes like the noodles in the soup. But whatever you do not use that canned stuff, like the biscuits in the can. Don't use that. Just don't, please. Make your own. It's so worth the payoff, and it's so easy to do. So guys, it's time to bring the South to your mouth, because we are going to make the single-handedly greatest chicken and dumplings ever. Let's go. Let's begin with a yellow onion and dice it up and put it in a bowl. Now let's take 2 decent-sized carrots about this big compared to my hand, and then peel them and dice them up into pieces about this big, and then add them to the onion. And to round out this holy trinity of vegetables, we're going to add in 3 stalks of celery. And then dice that up as well and add it to the onions and the carrots. Alright. And from the bunch of celery that you have, you see these little leafy tops here? Rip those off and reserve those as well. Just put them in a little bowl for the time being. It's just going to add amazing flavor to our chicken and dumplings into the broth, okay? So just rip these off over here and just save them. Let's move on. Now let's go to our Instant Pot and let's add in 4 tablespoons or a half a stick of salted butter. Alright, so let's come down to our control panel on the Instant Pot and hit the saute function and adjust so we're on the more or the high setting. And now that our butter is melted and sizzling, let's add in our celery, carrots, and onion. And we'll stir that around in the pot for about 5 minutes in all the butter. And we'll let that set, and then we'll occasionally stir. And after about 5 minutes of the veggies sauteing in the butter, we're going to add in some garlic. 1 tablespoon of crushed garlic. And stir that up in the pot and let that cook for another minute. Okay, we are looking good. Let's add some broth to the pot. I'm going to add in 6 cups of chicken broth. And give everything in the pot a good stir. Make sure any of the veggies that are on the sides of the pot, we push it into the liquid. And really, like I said, just give everything a good stir in the pot. Make sure the bottom of the pot is touched by the mixing spoon so nothing's stuck on it. And of course, nothing should be anyway. Okay, you know what? I think we're missing something. Oh, that's right. Next ingredient. And now let's focus on the star of our show, guys. Let's get clucking ready. Chicken! Let's talk about chicken. Guys, I'm going to use 1 whole chicken between 3 to 4 pounds. Now, I went to the butcher in the grocery store and just had them chop a whole chicken up for me, so it's already in pieces. It's just easier that way. Or you can just take a whole chicken and cut it up yourself. Regardless, you want the skin on there, you want the bones in there, everything exactly how it is. Just try to cut it up into pieces beforehand, okay? 3 to 4 pounds of a whole chicken. So I'm just going to drop all of my chicken into the pot with the skin still on that chicken. And now let's just make sure all the chicken is submerged in the broth in the pot. And we're just going to toss in a couple of bay leaves as well. Now let's secure our lid. Make sure we're in sealing position. Now let's hit the cancel or the keep warm cancel button depending on your model. And now we want to hit pressure cook or manual depending on your model. And we want to go for 10 minutes at high pressure. That's it, guys. Now we're going to want to thicken up our broth just a bit. So to do that, we want to take a cornstarch slurry, and that's going to be 3 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with 3 tablespoons of water. And then stir everything together so it goes like a really cement-like consistency into a nice smooth one. Alright? Perfect. It's time to do a quick release. And the pin just dropped, so let's take the lid off. And there's our chicken. And you'll see, thanks to the chicken skin being cooked in the pot on the chicken, we'll have gained a significant amount of amazing flavor and volume to our broth as well. So now let's remove our bay leaves. You can discard those. And take some tongs and place our chicken in a bowl. Leave all the veggies in the pot. It's okay if a few veggies make it into the chicken bowl. Alright guys, now let's get the cluck out of here. Okay, and there's all of our chicken, and we're gonna let this rest in the bowl and cool while we focus on turning that amazing broth in the pot into the most amazing chicken and dumplings ever. Now, because I love sherry so much, I'm gonna add a half a cup of it to the broth. You do not have to add it if you don't drink wine, but I think it just adds great flavor. And now it's time to add in a bouquet of seasonings. I'm going to add in a half a tablespoon of the following: seasoned salt, black pepper, rubbed sage, and poultry seasoning. That doesn't have any salt in the poultry seasoning. That's a half a tablespoon of each of those, along with a teaspoon of dried thyme and a teaspoon of dried parsley. And I'm also going to add in my reserved leafy tops from the celery from before. And then give that all a stir so that all the spices and everything get nice and mixed into our amazing broth. Now we're going to let our broth just rest here for a few moments with all the seasonings we just added in there while we take care of a very important next step. Alright guys, what we want to do is we want to form our dumplings. And I have a special southern guest for this. Everyone's favorite guy, Richard. Richard, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the set. First off, when I'm thinking dumplings, I think of like Chinese food dumplings. Because I'm Jew from this area, I think of like a dumpling with meat in it. From the South, when you think of dumpling, it's totally different, right?
Yeah, it's like a boiled biscuit.
So it's basically, there's no meat in it at all. It's just literally, like a boiled biscuit.
No, it's like a boiled biscuit. It's biscuit dough, usually thinner and boiled. Or
is it like a giant,
or whatever you do to it, you know. Everyone makes their chicken and dumplings different, I would say. My mom and my grandmother make them differently.
Mm-hmm. So like sometimes the dumplings, are they almost like a thick noodle, like a chicken noodle soup?
It depends. It can be any kind of thing. It can be like a thick noodle, like a broad noodle, a little thicker.
It's a Seinfeld reference.
Yeah, broad noodle. It could be kind of like a fluffier with a dense core, kind of like a biscuit dough if you roll it a little thicker, depending on if it's like home style or like if you have frozen dumplings. Sometimes people use those too. Okay. You can roll them up and do them too, mush them, just like roll them up in a meatball.
So there's lots of varieties.
Well, ways you can do
except there's no meat in them. These are southern dumplings.
Sometimes you can put some broth in them if you want to, but you know, that's if you're doing it the slow way. If you're doing it in an Instant Pot, it's going to get that anyway.
All right, but yeah, exactly. It's not like you're putting broth meat. So what do you say, guys? Let's take a dumpling.
Oh my God.
Oh, come on. Now, we're not going to be using any of those thick cans you buy in the supermarket, you know, the kind you pop open, none of those shenanigans, no fake rolls. We're gonna make fresh, amazing dumplings here, guys, and it's gonna be worth it, believe me, and it's so easy to make, and you likely have all the ingredients already in your apartment or your house. Now let's check it out. I'm gonna take a mixing bowl, and to that I'm going to add 1 1/4 cups all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, not to be confused with baking soda, this is very different, 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to whisk that up for about a moment, which in my head means 10 seconds. A moment is only 10 seconds. Now I want to take a half a cup of milk and then add in 2 tablespoons of salted butter and put it in the microwave for 40 seconds until the butter is melted into the milk. And there we have it. Now I'm going to pour this into my flour mixture and then mix it all up together with a fork. And it's going to be a dough-like consistency. Now we don't want to really over mix this, we just want to mix everything together so it's nice and combined, but don't overdo it per se. And now once it gets like this, we're going to be able to use our hands, alright? So in the meantime, let's just set this aside and then flour our countertop. And just pull a little bit out here, and then just smooth it out kind of so it's on top. Perfect. And I'll grab my dough just like this, and I don't really necessarily want to knead it too hard. You don't want to overmix it, you just kind of want to lay it out so it's kind of like, it should be semi-sticky, but it should be really soft and it'll be warm from the warm milk. And just like lay it on top right now of the flour and kind of like flip it over so it's kind of going on both sides. Alright, just like that. And now we want to roll this so it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, and we're going to do that with a rolling pin. Let's put some flour on our rolling pin and roll this dough out. It's going to roll really easily. And again, really make it thin. We do not want this to be thick, only about 1/8 of an inch. It should look about this thick when all said and done. You see that? Barely any space between my fingers. Okay, now we're going to take all this dough and we're going to slice it into little rectangular strips, which they call them dumplings, which honestly I'm a little confused why they call them dumplings because they don't look like dumplings at all. It's just the terminology. Different places, different meanings. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a pizza cutter. It's just going to be super handy, and I'm going to just simply do this and then form strips here about 1 inch apart from each other. It's okay if they're not perfect, and just do it like this. Alright. And then go in the opposite direction, and we want to do about 2 inches in between each one this time. So it looks like this, like little rectangles we're making here. You see that? So easy. Now let's just throw another dusting of flour over them so that they don't really stick to each other when we add them to a plate to sit on, and then when we cook them inside of our delicious broth. Alright, I'm going to remove my dumplings and put them on a plate, and guys, these are really, really thin. This is as thick as they are. It's exactly how we want them. And there are all of our lovely dumpling strips all ready to go, nicely dusted in flour on a plate, and we'll set that aside and we'll drop them in when it's time. And we'll cover with a paper towel. And now let's give our broth another stir. Ooh, how hypnotizing. And give it some heat until it bubbles. Now let's come down to our control panel again and hit the cancel or the keep warm cancel button. And let's hit the saute button again and also make sure we're on the more or the high setting. Okay, and once our pot begins to bubble, we are going to add in our cornstarch slurry. And I'm going to slowly pour it in and mix it at the exact same time because that's the key to thickening it up. So make sure you're constantly stirring as you're adding it in there. Alright, and we're going to continue to allow that to bubble. And now that we're boiling, let's take our dumplings and then add them in one by one. Do that so they don't really stick to each other. And after you've added a few, just give everything a little bit of a light stir in the pot. And then add in the rest. Okay, now let's give all of that a good stir, making sure everything's kind of separated from each other. And we're going to allow this to boil in the pot for 10 minutes with the lid on top. Now when I tell you to put the lid on top, I mean just kind of like put it to the side. Don't put it fully on like this. Just let it kind of like hover over. We don't want it to be fully on. Or if you have a glass lid that fits the top of your Instant Pot or the Instant Pot glass lid, you could put it on top too. Just leave it there, let it simmer and boil in the pot for 10 minutes. But don't put the lid fully on because even when it's in the venting position, when things are boiling in the pot, which this is, it could come to pressure anyway, and we don't want that to happen. So just leave it in the venting position, but kind of off-kiltered. But chef, why aren't we pressure cooking the dumplings with the chicken? It's a great question, and the reason is because they'll become a clumpy hot mess if we do. They're gonna become super mushy, super like all over the place and absorb way too much broth when they cook. We don't want that to happen. But honestly, it's better off that we're doing it this way anyway because the chicken's gonna have to cool down before we shred it up anyway, and in that time we prepare our dumplings and let them simmer, and then it's gonna be perfect. You're gonna see, trust me. Believe me, I've tried before. You don't wanna pressure cook your dumplings. Do the chicken, which is gonna be super amazing and infuse the broth with amazing flavor, and then we'll handle the dumplings right after. So now let's take our chicken and remove all of the fat or the skin off of the chicken as well as the bones, and just take the chicken meat. If it's cool to the touch, you can use your hands, it should be by this point, and then you can literally just like rip it apart. And then just place all of the chicken meat in a separate bowl. And by the way, you don't have to shred the chicken, you can just really rip it up into coarse pieces like this. You know, nice big chunky pieces. And then after you shredded all your chicken, it should look like this. A beautiful mix of white and dark meat. Alright, now let's check on our dumplings, which should be just about finished by now. And after 10 minutes of our dumplings boiling in the pot, let's take the lid off. And there they are, guys, looking absolutely perfect. Alright, now I'm gonna kill the heat. And now let's kill the heat on the pot completely. Just hit the cancel button, or the keep warm cancel button, and make sure it's off. Or you can just put it on keep warm if you want, whatever you prefer. If you're gonna serve it all at once, just turn it off. If you're going to serve it over a little bit of time, then just leave it on keep warm. And now let's take that beautiful chicken and add it right back to the pot. And now that our dumplings are perfect, I've just added in our chicken, and it's going to be amazing when they come together. And now for my final touch, I'm going to stir in a half a cup of heavy cream. And give that all a final stir until everything is nice and combined in there. And now, guys, we literally have the greatest chicken and dumplings ever. And it's so easy to make, honestly, so simple. Okay guys, oh man, this looks so good. Let's ladle some of this up into some bowls and then try it out. Alright, and here we go. Some chicken, some dumplings. Get it in there. And some more chicken and dumplings. And some veggies to drape over our delicious chicken. And just a few more dumplings because why not? Now let's just take a spoon and then try this out. Oh my gosh. Look at these dumplings. They're gorgeous. Beautiful. Like beautiful thick noodles. Ugh, I cannot wait to try this out. So let's do it. Chicken and dumplings in the house. Here we go, guys. Well, first I'm gonna grab a dumpling because I'm so excited to try it. Here we go. Ah! That's like the most amazing, like, almost like a chicken noodle, if you will. Like a thick, beautiful chicken noodle, but not chewy, not floury tasting. absolutely on the mark, perfect, because we rolled it only 1/8 of an inch thick. That's critical here. And we didn't over knead or over roll the dough either. We did it exactly as I did in the video. Follow that for it to be perfect. Oh my gosh. And now let me try the chicken and some of this amazing, amazing broth. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my gosh. Why didn't I make this sooner? This is literally the southern version of a Jewish chicken noodle soup. Or just a chicken noodle soup. I just assume a chicken noodle soup is Jewish, you know? It's the flavors in here are out of this world. And it's such a comforting dish. We have so many different cuts of chicken in here, from the breast to the thighs to the wings to the legs. We have it all. So that's white and dark meat, which I love a mix of that. And that coupled with our beautiful veggies like our carrots, onions, and celery, perfect. And they're like butter at this point. Again, these to me are not dumplings, because dumplings are like, you know, like Chinese style, or like a crepe lach or something like that. But they're more like a noodle, if you will, but like a really homemade, thick, perfect, melt in your mouth, buttery noodle. So good. And honestly, I'll tell you the truth, even if you don't want the dumplings in the pot, you can actually leave them out if you want completely. I thought that might be sacrilegious, it wouldn't be chicken and dumplings otherwise, but you're gonna get this amazing, creamy chicken soup that is to die for. It's magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent on every level. Guys, I gotta tell you right now, this is one of the greatest things I've ever made in the Instant Pot, and then you have this amazingness. I mean, let's look at this. It's a surreal experience, it really is. Richard, you gotta try this. Look what I have for you. Ooh. I made some chicken and dumplings. Now I'm worried and nervous because this man, you can't fool him with it because he is a big critic of Southern cooking. He still hasn't found the perfect biscuit in New York, so we gotta make sure that he's enjoying this. What are you thinking? I know it might be a little different, it's my own spin, so.
Let me get a good sized dumpling in there. Dumpling. Okay. Dumpling. Those are perfect dumplings. They're chewy enough without being overly chewy. They're not hard in the middle. They're perfect. They're so fluffy and great. They're like the perfect consistency.
Do I get your seal of approval on that?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, emphatically, yes.
You're damn right it better be. You're not getting any more food for a long, long time.
Oh, this is good.
So the consistency is right, because truth be told, I've tried it a few times and it was too doughy or it was too thick. These I feel like really are just right in terms of...
Yeah, these really are the Goldilocks dumplings, I guess. Right. I like them thicker sometimes if they're fluffy. I don't like them thick and dense, like a whole, you know, biscuits thrown in there. So some people put like cream of chicken soup in it, which I think makes it overly chickeny and it's too condensed tasting.
No, that's not necessary.
And they use the really thin dumplings that are frozen. Sometimes they're too noodly. I don't like that. Sometimes it's too soupy, so it's just too like just chicken water.
But you call it a sauce, but isn't it, well, whenever I've had chicken dumplings, even like a Cracker Barrel of all places, I feel like it's a soup. It's more like a soup. Is it a sauce? Because it's like, that's a lot of sauce. I mean, maybe it's a sauce.
I think it's more saucy. I mean, it's not like it's a bowl. It's a dish you eat in a bowl.
Okay. So if you're a Southerner, do me a favor, leave it in the comments over there below if you consider this like a stew or a soup or, you know, a sauce. Or is it just chicken and dumplings? I guess that's what we just call chicken and dumplings. Alright guys,
chicken dumplings.
So as I said before, this is the final video in this kitchen, and it's kind of sad, but at the same time, not really, because it's getting a nicer kitchen. It's time to pack up our bags and head to a whole other world. Not very far, but still, it's time and we're excited for that. So I figured what better recipe to say goodbye to this kitchen than to make one that kind of has a tie to both a chicken soup that we're all familiar with a southern spin on it. So I'm glad you tried it, guys.
I'm almost done.
Give me a spoonful of that. I want to try something this time.
I get to feed you now?
Oh yeah, obviously. I feed you all the time. Alright, here we go. Hot damn, that's good. Absolutely spectacular. Guys, if you enjoy these videos and these recipes, go to pressurelookcooking.com because every single one of my written recipes is there, along with a video to go with it. Go to facebook.com/pressurelookcooking and like that page for any time a new video drops like this one. I mean, you don't want to miss out on that, or any time that I've mentioned there's a deal on items or humor, things like that, check that out. And of course, subscribe to me on YouTube. All my videos are easily cataloged there at Pressure Luck, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram. Thank you so much again, guys, and I'm telling you, like, it's like the North has met the South in this one because we have two unbelievable chicken soups of different statures, both equally incredible. And right now, guys, I'm leaning towards my chicken and dumplings because this thing is a comfort food like none other. And we all need a little bit of Southern comfort in our lives, am I right? All right.